Hi everyone, welcome to part 2 of the top 10 series. I hope you're all keeping well and following all the guidelines that have been set out there. And as per usual, let's keep praying for the world and let's hope we have our world better and back as usual. In part 1 of this series, I took a look at my top 10 Arsenal bogey players. Those are the players that I hated when they played against Arsenal, when they faced Arsenal. If you want to check that video out right now, I'm going to link it up in the YouTube card. It's going to pop up right now. If you can just click on it and watch episode 1 of this series. And in episode 2, this time I'm going to take a look at my top 10 Arsenal players of all time. Of course, in this series, I always give you guys a chance to let me know what top 10 you'd want to see from me. So if you have an idea of a top 10 you want to see from me, comment down in the comment section and I'll see what to do about it. And for the top 10 Arsenal players of all time, of course, everyone has a different opinion on this topic. Some will say but the better players were in the 90s. Some will say most of them were in the 2000s. Maybe not a lot will say in the 2010s, but everyone has a different opinion in this. But for me, I'm going to focus on the players that I watched most. Of course, there are players that I'm going to include that I didn't really watch a lot, but I've watched highlights and documentaries of them and I've fallen in love with them. But I'm going to focus more on the players that I've watched. I started supporting Arsenal around 2004, so I'm going to focus mostly on the players that I watched from then. So my favorite players from there, because there are players who are really good in the 1920s, 30s, 40s, but I didn't really get to watch them, so I can't include them in this list, but I'm going to mention them. And just before I get into that, if you're enjoying my content on the road to 1,000 subscribers, make sure you comment, make sure you subscribe, make sure you click on the bell and get notified every single time I post a new video. This top 10 series comes out every single Friday, so when you hit the notification bell, you're gonna be notified every time I post a new video. Now to the players that could have made the top 10 but haven't really made it. Cliff Bastin, he was Arsenal's top scorer before Ian Wright broke it, and his final game he played in the 1940s, and his record was he held the record for the most goals for Arsenal until the 1990s. Those are a lot of years. No one in the 1940s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and the early 90s broke his record, so he deserves a mention. Pat Jennings was a really good goalkeeper. Why am I not saying his name correctly? Rocastle, of course, was a really good player. I repeat, the legend. I also loved some mentions that maybe people wouldn't like, but someone like Theo Walcott, his early years, I had also started supporting Arsenal like 2-3 years before him, so he really was a good player in his first couple of years. I loved his pace. Rosicky, Ashley Cole won a lot of FA Cups at Arsenal and even at Chelsea after he left Arsenal. Lee Dixon, good right back. Martin Keown, no nonsense centre back. Overmars helped us win a couple of titles. Alexander Kleb, Rosicky, and even Emmanuel Adebayo. Most people didn't like Adebayo, but he was a really good finisher. I was watching a game in 2007. I was watching a game yesterday, a game that we played, I think it was in 2006, December, and we beat Blackburn 6-2, and he was amazing in that game. He used to take our penalties, and I never saw him missing a penalty. He scored some hat-tricks. I remember a goal against Man U. That was the last time he won at Old Trafford. Adebayo scored that goal. So a lot of mentions, a lot of people you can put in this list, but I'm going to go with my personal top 10. And I'm going to start with the number 10, and that is going to go to someone that you probably won't like, and that is Alexis Sanchez. Of course, he didn't leave us he didn't leave us in a good way, of course, because he went to Man U, but I actually agreed with him in terms of leaving Arsenal because Arsene Wenger and the rest of the team aren't really living up to his ambitions. He was working so hard in every single game, and you could actually see that most of the players aren't on his level. So if you'd have gone to like Real Madrid or AC Milan or Inter Milan or something like that, I wouldn't have minded. Right now, of course, he's in Inter Milan. I actually don't see him coming back to Man U. It didn't work out for him, but he's a really good player. The energy, the inspiration he gave to other players. Of course, in the later years, some fans say that he cared about himself and stuff like that, but I actually felt sorry for him sometimes. I remember in the 3-3 draw against Bournemouth, I think it was in 2016, 2017 or something, we actually scored a third goal. He came back from 3-0 down and he scored a third goal. And someone like Giroud was celebrating, and you could see someone like Sanchez and Chamberlain telling him, no, we need a fourth goal. We need a win. This is not enough for Arsenal. You can actually see that. And his hat-trick against Leicester, the time he beat them 5-2 in their title-winning season. The hat-trick against West Ham, the way he scored his third goal. Memories. He also scored some free kicks, so he makes my number 10. Not many people will like him, but if you put that Man U connection aside, he was actually a very good player and probably our best player in the 2010s. Number 9 is going to go to David Seaman. David Seaman, our goalkeeper from 1990 to 2003, won a couple of titles, made some fantastic saves, including an FA Cup save against Sheffield United that actually made us win that 2003 FA Cup. Otherwise, I think Sheffield would have equalized and the game would have changed. Maybe we wouldn't have won that 2003 FA Cup. And he's probably our best ever goalkeeper. And after him, we've had some mediocre goalkeepers. Okay, Lehmann was okay, but the Almunias, the Manones, Fabianski is a good goalkeeper right now, but at Arsenal. So all the goalkeepers that followed him never really lived up to David Seaman. So David Seaman makes my number 9. Number 8 will go to Cesc Fàbregas. Right now he's still very young. He's 32 years old. So that shows that he joined the team really at a young age. He joined Arsenal at 16 years old. That was in the season that we finished unbeaten, but he really never played because he was very young. But around 2005, 2004-5, we started playing a lot because Gilberto was injured, Vieira was injured, Edu was injured. And of course, I wanted him to win a Premier League title, but he couldn't win that at Arsenal, and he won it at Chelsea eventually twice. And I remember him for the solo goal he scored against Tottenham, a couple of goals he scored against Everton. His passing was really good. Fàbregas is in the probably in the top 5 of the players who know how to pass the ball. And I remember Ashley Cole wrote in Ashley Cole's biography, he wrote that after Fàbregas was one of those fast players that came into our midfield, those lightweight players we started buying after Vieira and Gilberto. We started having the likes of Fàbregas, Denilson, players that we never used to see at Arsenal. And his interview recently, he said that at that time he felt like he was in RVP's level and Nasri's level, and no one else in the team were in their level. So yeah, and I actually agree with him because he was class at Arsenal. So he makes my number 8. Number 7 goes to Tony Adams. He played for us from 1983 to 2002, 504 appearances. Mr. Arsenal, best defender we've ever had. His leadership qualities. He scored 48 goals for Arsenal. I remember a double he scored against Everton. I think it was in 1998. He lifted those titles, also some titles before the Premier League started. And he also helped us win against Liverpool in the 1988-1989 famous season, and in the 1990-91 season where we lost only one game. And he became the captain at 21 years of age, and he was our captain for 14 years until his retirement. And he also went through some stuff. He was imprisoned in the 1991 season. He recovered from alcohol. He was like in the top 10 of the recovered alcoholics in UK at that time. That was crazy. He got into fights, and he's the only player who has captained a team to titles in 3 different decades. Only player in history. 1980s, 90s, and 2000s. So incredible player. Number 6 is going to go to Robin van Persie, another controversial pick. He joined Arsenal for £2.7 million only, and I remember his double against Blackburn, his goal against Man U 2007, another double against Chelsea, another hat-trick against Chelsea the last time we won at Stamford Bridge. His free kicks, the power he had in that. Corners, he had some really good corners. He scored in our famous games like the 4-4 against Newcastle, 8-2 against Man U, our better players in that game. In the 2011-2012 final season at Arsenal, he scored 30 goals. Actually, every goal that went in was from Robin van Persie. I remember clearly in that season. And he's right now, I don't know if it's been broken, but he's our 8th time all-time top scorer with 132 goals. Another free kick he scored against Sunderland. Power, volley against Charlton, his goal against Barcelona where we beat them 2-1 at the Emirates. All very good memories. Unfortunately, he went to Man U, won the title there, and that made all Arsenal fans hate him. But he still makes the top 10 for best ever Arsenal players for me. Number 5 goes to Patrick Vieira. Leadership, 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 leadership. He played for us from 96 to 2005, 406 appearances, 33 goals. His fights with Robbie Keane, I saw his interview with Keane. They were doing like a interview together, and Roy Keane actually said every time fixtures came out, he used to look at which game when they're gonna play Arsenal. And like 2 weeks before that game, he wouldn't even care about the games before that. He would just focus on Patrick Vieira. How am I going to deal with Patrick Vieira? That just shows you how much of a battle they had, and how much of a leader and a strong point he was at Arsenal. And probably was our last combative midfielder with Gilberto, because we've had some really weak midfielders after him. So Vieira makes my number 5. Number 4 goes to Ian Wright, a gunner by blood. Even right now, when I see him doing games against for Arsenal or for BT Sport or whatever, he actually talks very well about Arsenal. You can see that he's still a fan and he wants to wish the best for Arsenal. At the beginning of the video, I mentioned that Cliff Bustin held a record until the 1990s, and you can guess who broke it? Ian Wright. As I've said, he's still a gunner, and the goals he scored, some of the goals were fantastic. His partnership with the Dennis Bergkamp, awesome. So he makes number 4. And he actually scored those goals, 185 goals in just 288 appearances from 91 to 98. So he's a complete legend for Arsenal. Number 3 goes to Robert Pires, the French people would say it. He scored some really brilliant goals against Aston Villa. Schmeichel, a chip that the way he twisted Boateng, and just clinical, really, really good. He also gave that pass to Dennis Bergkamp, that amazing goal he scored against Newcastle. I'm going to come back to that later on. He won the title at White Hart Lane. There's another cheeky penalty they tried with Henry around, I think it was 2005, I think, and they messed it up with him. Some good goals against Southampton, Aston Villa, Liverpool. Probably one of the reasons we won the title in 02 and 04. So brilliant play. And he always scored against Tottenham, so that gives him extra points. So Pires gets number 3. Number 2 goes to Dennis Bergkamp, a player that the way he played his football, really, really calm. He plays like Ozil right now, but he was levels ahead of Ozil by far. But the way they play slow games, but his qualities were way, way ahead. And the slow tempo, they scored the best ever goal I've ever seen against Newcastle, as I've mentioned. There's another 2 goals he scored against Leicester before that. And he never actually used to go to away games in the Champions League, because he never liked traveling with planes and stuff. And I actually think if he actually went to every single away game in the Champions League, would have won a Champions League between that 2006 somewhere. And his partnership with Wright and Henry, all that later on, so makes my number 2 definitely. Amazing player. And my number 1 goes to Thierry Henry. I met him around 2017. I think it was December of 2017, and I actually cried because he's the reason why I started supporting Arsenal. I actually saw him play against I think it was Blackburn and then Watford a couple of years later, and I completely fell in love with Arsenal because of him. He won the Golden Boot 4 times, was in MLS Team of the Year when after he left Arsenal and stuff. He was in Barcelona's Champions League winning team. Records after records after records. Arsenal's all-time top scorer. His individual goal against Real Madrid, against Inter Milan. I really felt bad for him when he didn't win that Champions League in 2006 against Barcelona. He actually missed a lot of chances in that game, but that doesn't change anything. Henry's a legend. He's the best ever player I've ever seen at Arsenal and in the Premier League. So number 1 definitely goes to him. Let me know what your top 10 is. Which players wouldn't you have in this top 10 that I've included? I'll have episode 3 of this series next week. Make sure you check that out. Subscribe, leave a like, comment. I'll link up my videos in the description. Thanks for the support. Stay safe and God bless.